Everyone, I'm super excited for today. I think there's going to be a lot of excellent knowledge that's going to be learned. A lot of motivation. Please stay in your seats. It's going to be exciting. But I did, Andrew, and I'm sorry for this, but I think you're going to love it. I had to ask for a favor from someone. I had to call in a favor. This wonderful person is one of a huge powerhouse. She's not only done so well in her career, but she's also been there along the line with you throughout your career. So I want to be able to introduce everyone to Miss Renee Jeffries. She is going to go ahead and kick us off and introduce us to the man himself.
You, Mary. So first, I just need to give a huge shout out to you. I really appreciate you thinking of me to have the opportunity. I'm honored to have the opportunity to get to introduce to this agency your SGA, Andrew McQuade. I am just so in love with this agency. For those of you who have had an opportunity to work with, you know where my heart's at. I have like a huge soft spot for you guys. So I'm excited to get to introduce Andrew here. I might get a little emotional too, because I just love him so much. But quick background on Andrew. He started with the company in March of 2011. And within his first 9 months, he qualified for convention off of personal production, as well as qualifying based on his MGA contract. Within 5 months, he promoted 2 of his first trainees to MGAs, earning himself an RGA contract. Guys, that's in 14 months. It's absolutely incredible. Over the next 8 years, he managed 6 offices totaling between 2 and 2.8 million ALP a year. He promoted 16 MGAs and 3 SGAs, netting over 3.5 million as an RGA, which is honestly more than what most SGAs do. He had earned multiple top 10 MGA awards and top 10 RGA awards, as well as winning his MGA category. And this is where our relationship began, was in 2019. Andrew joined the home office as a regional sales director. And I had some notes here. He also earned best looking in that category. That was not my note, but he earned best looking in the category for the director team as well. This is when I had the opportunity to work with Andrew and had a part in his training on the home office side of things. But his talent was just way too strong to keep him locked in on the home office side of things. So in 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, he decided to take a position as an SGA in NorCal, and obviously as the SGA for this incredible, amazing agency now. And basically won his category the first full year, netting over 3 million ALP in 2021. Now, this is not just a him award, but also to everyone on this call. You guys backed that up with an incredible year in 2022 with 22% growth, netting over 4 million ALP. Bumping you guys up to a category 2 for 2023. Now, for those of you guys that don't know what that means, there's very few agencies that ever make it to category 2, let alone within just a couple years of becoming an SGA. So he is the elite of the elite. And thanks to everyone on this call as well. And followed up with a massive year in 2023. It was down to the wire, but you guys made it happen with over 5 million net ALP, which is actually such a huge accomplishment that you're recognized on stage at convention for that as well. So that was in 2023. Part of the executive council, which is also an elite award, and started in 2024 with a partnership with Eddie Chavez. And halfway through the year, I'm just finding out, also entering another partnership with a full Latino SGA, Walter Acaza. So these accomplishments, guys, they can go on and on. I don't want to take away, from Andrew's time here, but I just want to wrap up with this. I can tell you, I've been with this company for 18 years, and I've had an opportunity to work with pretty much almost, if not every single SGA in this company. And what I can tell you is there is not a stronger, more ethical, moral, high-valued guy incredible leader. I've never seen someone care so much and pour so incredible much of their time, energy, money, efforts into their organization as Andrew McQuade was. If I ever were to leave the agency side or the home office side, I'm telling you right now, over to the agency side is the Andrew McQuade agency is where I would be going. I'm telling you guys, you are where it's at. This is where it's happening. Andrew, you're an incredible leader. And Mary, thanks to you for giving me the opportunity to introduce the one and only Andrew McQuade.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Renee. I really appreciate you. I know you had to just put everything off for Mr. Andrew McQuade.
Anything for you guys.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So to get us started, Andrew, there's going to be a series of questions. Some of us are going to go ahead and dive in. But to kick us off, we're going to go ahead and start off with Chris. Please, guys, if you have any questions, throw them into the chat. Let's wait till the end because we do have a packed schedule. And we do want to get all that information and really pick out his brain today, okay? So get us started, Chris.
Well, thank you, Mary. Pleasure to be here, guys. I do take it as an honor to be asked to be the first.
I like the outfit, Chris. You know what I'm talking about?
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize how much Andrew affected my life just from now my attire, where I do the Andrew fit, as well as with this business. Because one thing that Renee was talking about, any SGA that you want to go to, this is where it's at. And I can say that from previous experience with where we were at before. Some of the old heads, Paul, Kamal, Jade, you guys know what I'm talking about. It was hard. It was hard times. But when he came in, I was the first person to hit him up on the phone, actually. And I was juiced to bring him on. And one of the main things that I would say, besides his tenure, because even hearing all the things that he's accomplished, you wouldn't even really notice or even realize that out the gate because he doesn't really flaunt that, you know what I'm saying? But from where he was at, I saw the vision that he had already out the gate. You know, he saw what he wanted for the agency and how he was going to turn things around. So I was on board. But I think really the connecting moment was his love for video games. And as a fellow gamer myself, understand that there is a lot of life lessons that you learn from playing video games. Besides the skill sets that you have, hand-eye coordination, ability to assess situations and make quick instant decisions, all of that stuff. But one of the main components, obviously, is gaming. And I think it's only fitting to ask the most important question to kick everything off is that I know you were a fan of Street Fighter 2, Ultimate Street Fighter 2, I would say. And a lot of, I would say that is one of my favorite all-time games because for being an 80s, 90s babies, that's one of the main games that you would go into an arcade in the mall when they used to have arcades in the mall. Where you go and put your quarter on the thing, on the front, meaning you got next up. So my question to you, because it's very important. If you were to play me in Ultimate Street Fighter 2, which you are going to catch an L. But anyway, what is your go-to character and why?
Interesting question. Do I have to make this relevant to what we do for a living? So if I have to make this relevant to what we do for a living, I would say I have no go-to character. I would want it to be randomized. I would definitely want it to be randomized. But if it were like, so guys, I've seen Chris play. We had Theo Pappas come out, Chris, if you can remember, and I forget what bar we went to with him, but we were playing Street Fighter, and so Ken is my go-to. I'm the youngest of 5, and my brother Chase always had dibs on Ryu. It was like the hierarchy of the household. So we had to go with what was, second best. I went with Ken. So that answers that question. Good question. Yeah, that's a great way to kick this off. I'm honored to give your guys my guidance and all that. I'm honored.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Chris, for making that happen. So now really diving in, we're going to go ahead and start with the first one. Andrew, you've done so much, you've accomplished so much, but we really want to, really dive into how you have been able to create this mentality of urgency and ownership.
So first off, Mary, I appreciate you putting this all together. And Renee, I appreciate you jumping on. That was a pleasant surprise. And Mary actually called me last night and was kind of going over some of this stuff. And it's like, it's so interesting when you hear it read back to you. And it is kind of cool to reflect. So I am excited about today, but the ownership and urgency. So guys, like, I never saw myself doing this. And, it probably wasn't even the first year when I was fully bought in, but the idea of urgency and ownership, I feel like was built into me early on for three reasons. And I think it was kind of mentalities, skill sets, and perspectives. I think if you want to be urgent, if you want to have a sense of ownership, as in owning who you are, owning your results, or owning your future, you need all three. You need the right mentality, you need the right skill sets, you need the right perspective. Okay. So, I got some notes on what I feel like for each one, because it's kind of a lot to think about. But when I talk about mentalities, is when I was early in the career, I always had this idea of who I wanted to become, who I wanted to be. And once again, that's an idea. It's not real. It's come to fruition. It's acting like I can predict the future, which I can't. So early in my career, I started focusing on, as opposed to who do I want to become, I focused on what do I want to achieve. Knowing, having the humbleness to know that since I've never achieved these things, I can't really, I think a strong argument could be made, I don't really know the person it's going to take to achieve those goals, correct? Like, you don't know what they are, you don't know what's going to take. So better to make smaller goals based off achievements than this grandiose idea of who I want to be way down the road. Right. So that was one of the mentalities. I'm going to focus early in my career about what am I trying to achieve before who am I trying to become? And then the second thing was the mentality of risk taking. We didn't tell my story because most of you guys have heard, and I don't want to bore you guys, but I've seen in my lifetime risk taking fail and exceed from my parents, from my siblings, whatever it is. Risk taking is a skill set that is extremely important and has been since human existence, and even in the animal kingdom, risk taking is a major factor. So for me, when there's a risk, you guys have heard me rant about this, by definition, the odds are most likely against you. Okay. So if the odds are against you, why would you ever half-ass it? Because if you half-ass something where the odds are naturally against you, what do you think is going to happen? So there are so many times in my life where there's objectives, sports, video game, whatever it may be, that I'm not really fully into. But I know for a fact that time is finite. We all know that. We're in the business of you're going to die one day, right? So if I'm going to do something, whether it's something I'm in love with or not, something I'm 100% not, why would I ever half-ass it? Because I know what's going to happen. So those were kind of the mentalities when I started this job. I'm gonna get rid of this Hollywood, like, who am I going to become? What am I going to achieve? Like, what am I actually trying to do here? And the second is like, all right, risk taking is a real skill set. I know this is a big part of this job, is taking a risk. It's performance-based. I'm not going to half-ass it. I'm going to get after it. Okay. Then I said, skill sets, skill sets would be next. Actually, you know what? Another mentality, and this is just kind of something that I was talking about this morning and it irritated me, but I want to say it to you guys. Dude, embrace the W-9 contract. Like, embrace being an independent contractor. Like, what is this? People were like, they're like against it or whatever. Like, dude, if you're serious about building a vision, if you're serious about building a dream, W-2 by contract, you have boundaries to that vision. Because once again, you're going on a 3 to 4% raise every year. Your time has told you when you're working, when you're not. You're like kind of projection of where your career is going to go. It's in control. It's controlled by somebody else. So for me, like, I think another mentality I had pretty big is like, I embrace the W-9. I know I don't play well with others. I know I don't work well for other people. I do like coaches and guides, and I do like parameters and guidelines, and I do like support. Like, I know that we work for Globe and our sales and stuff benefit the company, but I view them more as like coaches and guides. Like, they're like, Chris, who like, the NFL is actually like who runs the NFL, right? So they're like the NFL, but like, I like how I can be a free agent player. I can be my own franchise. I can build my culture how I want. I can build my vision how I want. I am fully willing to take the risk of that initial security of my slightly above poverty pay of a W-2 to be able to be in control of my vision and my destiny. A lot of you guys know my belief system. I love being American because we are supposed to all be able to believe in what we want. I'm not a big believer in what comes next. I hope there is, but I don't know if it is or not. So once again, risk taking is, I want to make sure I maximize this adventure. And I really feel like if I'm trying to maximize a vision or a dream and really get after it, I think there's nothing better than a W-9 contract. And for me, when I started this, I had character flaws. Okay. Like if you talk to like my old age, you talk to Eddie, he was there soon enough. Like I had, and still to this day, it's something we're probably going to talk about here later, but character flaws has been an ongoing theme throughout my life where I've been put in situations where there's, maybe flaws isn't the best word, but there's been areas of opportunity in my character, like in my character that I need to adjust. And I feel once again, a W-2, if I kind of have laziness or like habitual fatigue in my character, like in a W-2, I can kind of still skate by on that because I can hide in the numbers. I don't really like, W-9, you can't pull that shit, man. Like you can't. It's like, then you're not going to get paid, bro. So it's like, there was a lot of times I also embraced the W-9 because it forces me to get results. It forces me to have discipline if I'm serious about the goals I'm trying to acquire. So for me, it's another thing I would stress mentality wise is, dude, stop doing this whole American commonality where you're scared of a W-9. There ain't nothing more American about it. Like, yeah, you're independent, bro. You're building you and what you want to design and what you want to come to fruition. And you don't have that ability when someone else is writing your check, I think also, sorry, man, I'm rambling now, but like another mentality would be, dude, live in the real world. It's another thing. Like live in the real world, not like your head. Common job, man. You start at 50 grand a year. You guys have heard me talk about this. 4% raise, do the math. What does it take? 20 years, 15 years to get to a $70,000 salary? Okay. Cute little 401k of like, $2,500 a year getting put into that. Maybe your employer matches. So, and you guys have heard me get really scared about retirement. I'm not using it as a fear tactic, but the age of retirement, it's going to get raised to 76. It's going to happen in our lifetime, if not in the next decade, if not in the next 5 years or this next cycle of administration. If the average age for retirement is 76, how ironic is it that the average lifespan of American is 76 years old? So you're just indirectly being told you're working until the day you die. So for me is like, that's the real world. Like that's the average. That's what the real world is. And, with here, and once again, Mary, I think we'll talk about this later, but man, recognize the opportunity. I don't care what your resume says. If you objectively look at what we do and what's in front of us, this is going firmly believe that as humans or Americans, you probably get 2, possibly 3, but probably 1 or 2 legitimate opportunities to make substantial income. Not saying it's going to be easy or it's going to be given to you or someone else is doing it for you, but the opportunity is there. Objectively, strong argument could be made. This is one of them. So that was another mentality. It's like, man, I don't want to do commission sales. When I first started, I don't want to do commission sales. I got a degree, But then it's like when I'm looking at it, it's like, yeah, but it's a political science degree. Okay. It's 2011. There's no jobs. The Great Recession's objectively, yeah, this is probably the best opportunity I'm really going to get.
Well,
So those are some mentalities. I'm still going, Mary, because I haven't gotten the skill set.
I can't speak for everyone else, but I can speak for myself, and I can say I am very grateful for the opportunity that you have been able to give me. I know, my whole upline, from the very beginning has been very supportive and has given me the opportunity to be here, not only Globe Life and American Income, but thank you so much because you're constantly always trying to help us achieve the greater version of ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I really appreciate that, and thank you so much. So to continue, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Andrew. No, don't. I saw you. You want to.
Well, no. So let me finish, because I can burn through the last 2 because I do want to touch on them. That's mentalities. Because we suffer from this in our agency, the urgency and ownership. We do. You got to have the skill sets. Like guys, you got to have a skill set of designing goals. Like you need to know how to do it. And I'm going to give you a quick idea of how to do that. To design a goal, you have to ask yourself a series of questions so you can define what that goal actually is. Okay. So ask yourself whatever the hell it is, what you're trying to achieve, who is it for, why is it what? Second part, you got to determine if it's possible. It's my schedule, my people, my circle. Third part, you got to commit. Okay, you got to commit. As in, who do I need to become? What do I need to learn? What do I got to do today? As in, if you're waking up in the morning saying, one day I'm going to, you need to shift that to today I'm going to. Okay? And then last thing, like I said, perspective for you and your circle. Okay. Objectively, once again, understand the opportunity that's in front of you. Top industry, top company, top organization, as Renee's talking about. The only variable is you. The opportunity is there. Okay. So sorry, Mary, I know I went too long, but when you talk about urgency ownership, dude, have the mentality, have the skill sets, have the perspective. And typically you can own your life when you got those things.
Awesome.
All right, now go.
Great advice. All right. So for our next question, I'm going to invite Paul to go ahead and ask.
So
Thank you so much, Paul, for joining us.
thank you, Mary, for having us. Renee, Andrew, as always. So quick little, I know we're on time, but quick little story. So everybody, I don't really.
We're never on time, bro. You've been here. Yeah.
I never call Andrew. I call him, I call him boss man, right? So I do embrace the W-9, lifestyle. I mean, this week I went on vacation with my family. So we were at the hotel. My son did something for me and I was like, hey, thanks, boss man. And he turned and he gave me a look. He was like, wait, I'm not Andrew. Why'd you call me that? Right. And it's like, that was just a little cute moment that I had with my son. It's like a little character building or a defining moment that we had just on our vacation time. Right. And my question for you, Andrew, is like, I know what mine is, and I kind of think I know what yours is, but can you share your defining moment in your career that actually shaped your vision and your approach for leadership?
So that was a tough question when I saw it. There isn't one for me. So you guys been 14 years, right? So it's like there's been so many moments, but I wrote down a few. Like, my advice to people is when the narrative shifts, those moments are special. So for me, is the narrative shifts in my life and my career are what caused major changes in the way I manage, lead, think, whatever it is. And, Paul, I was thinking, so you were one for sure. So my first one that I will always remember was the first time I got an $1,800 paycheck and I barely made bonus. And, it was because I was an SA and I had Heather, Justin, and Ray, my first three, Ray Salazar, Heather LaCrone, and Justin Oldham, remember him by name, they had great weeks and they were all excited. And I was like, I was super excited for them. But back then I was still a little selfish where I was like, yeah, my paycheck's going to suck. And I got an $1,800 paycheck. And so I should have only been paid about $400 with our old bonus structure and pay structure. And I was like, what the hell is this? And then they showed me what a leadership bonus was. And I was like, holy, I was like, okay, so maybe this whole idea of putting other people, like my, as long as they're willing to apply the effort themselves, that was a major shift in me where it's like, I'm going to show people how to be consistent and do it in mass quantities because obviously it benefits them. And it was kind of enjoyable to see that. And then obviously it benefits me. But if you guys have come to my class and come to the VIPs, one of the biggest pivotal moments for me was Floyd Aragon, when I lost my first client. So it was just a sale that ego driven. I wanted to close for my reputation. They called me the Iron Man back in the agency because my consistent bonusing. And, there was that 1 week I was going to miss bonus. And my manager, my leader at the time, pushed me to do the appointment, drove 2.5 hours away. So 5 hours of driving for one appointment, fought tooth and nail for it. And he was like a tough guy, like didn't want to get it. It was an immigrant family. Family couldn't even speak English. Like it was a situation if something happened to him, like the family is screwed. Family screwed. So that was kind of my pitch. Finally, he bought it. And I felt good. I remember going to the agency meeting Monday, like, Iron Man at it again, blah, 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 like completely egotistical, whatever. 4 months later, dude, got the call. Floyd wrapped his car around a tree, died on impact. And when I showed up to that house, fat American income check over all the bills. And it was, remember, I was 25, like just turned 25. And it was just one of those moments like, shame on me, dude. Like I disrespected this job. I treated it like this is what I do for a living. Like literally people, because our demographic guys, blue collar, high risk, middle to low income. It's a vulnerable collection of people. Like this is who I service on a daily basis. And then also this is after, I got paychecks off my people. It's like, and then also I train other people to make more money than they're used to, or maybe more than they've been told they're worth to do the same thing. Yeah, I'm good with that. And I'm definitely going to plant my roots here and do this for the rest of my life. So that was one of the big moments for me. There was another one. So I don't have, mom and dad or anything like that. Like I'm on my own, dude. So for me is when I bought my first house. bought my first house, got my 2 cars, like the financials. Like when I was like, holy, like I'm like starting to cook. Like I just put a down payment, 6-figure down payment on a house. And I still got cash, dude. And then we bought 2 cars and I was like, I still got cash, dude. And then renewals were paying for my mortgage and those cars. I was like, holy, it started kind of clicking there where it's like, yeah, I have no cap to my income, opportunity unlimited. I was like, I need to share this, which will lead me to my last point. I need to share this with other people because it benefits me, the more people that are actually doing it. So death claims were a major impact for me. But Paul, you were a recent one because he won't tell you this, guys, but I had to beg him to come back. He made me chase him. Paul, I had to call you like 5 times. You know what I mean? He was playing hard to get. But when we got him back, his first year back was the best year he'd ever had in American Income financially. Right? If I'm not mistaken. Am I making that up? I think that's accurate, right? Yep. So the whole idea was like, that was a huge impact for me where things have kind of shifted, where my excitement is no longer self-worth or gain. It's more coming from like, dude, you legitimately could possibly be one of the most impactful people in a lot of people's lives. Own up to that responsibility. So another shift in my approach to leadership is like, yeah, man, make a lot of impacts where you can, because you're in a position where that's available to you. And once again, shame on you if you don't really rise up to the task. So I feel like a lot of people, they don't really understand what we do for our clients, and they don't really understand what we can make here because they hear the word insurance and they tune out. But once you start getting educated on this and start like seeing what we do and really diving in, it's like, been brainwashed by whatever. It's like, it's a noble cause what we do, and you can make a freaking killing doing it. It's a very positive circle. Be objective about it, So I would say, once again, it's a series of events, but when the narrative shifts, those moments are special. And it's like, those are usually the aha moments, the epiphanies that really alter the way you think, operate, strategize, all those kind of things. The harder you work, the more often those opportunities come around, will be my answer to that.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Paul.
You guys see that? That was like 5 minutes. You see how fast I answer that?
You're getting better and better.
Get out of here.
All right. So to join, I know he's been part of your whole little adventure with American Income. I know he has some history with you, more than just this. I wanted to go ahead and invite Mr. Eric Caballero to go ahead and join us and ask the next question.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate that. McQuade. So my question is, looking back on this journey you've had, right? And you just mentioned the impact you've been able to make on Paul, and he's obviously, a leader here at the utmost contract, but the rest of us as well, right? The impact you've been able to make on a lot of us, but there had to have been some challenges that might have even kept you from being here today, right? That you had to overcome. What do you think the biggest challenges you faced have been, and how did you overcome those?
So it's similar, like last question is the greatest challenge. I don't believe in like monumentous moments or like it's always, dude, there's always challenges. Like, dude, the first year for all of us, the first year is so hard, right? There was me and Eddie. We had a year when our RGMG was good, like retention issues, dude. That was 9 months basically without that. It was really tough, really, really tough. When I went to corporate, that was very difficult for me. Complete shift and everything. The last 3 years as SGA has been extremely difficult. So if I were to say the biggest challenge is, and I mean this, would probably be understanding what's actually possible. Because there's all these weird biases that I had and still have to this day of what I'm capable of, what me and my people can do together, what the company can grow to, how many Pauls, like there's all these blockades to what's actually possible. And it's usually self-inflicted, right? So that's been one of my biggest, I never thought I'd be SGA cat, executive cat. Like, what are we talking about? Like, these were never things that were in my scope of possibility. So that's been a major obstacle and challenge for me is like, dude, you got to stop like manufacturing blockades in your life. Like, stop it. It's becoming a deterrent. And then I'd also say the biggest challenges, and MGAs know better than anybody, is myself, dude. And I'm not easy to work with. I'm not like this super altruistic, whatever the hell we view as the standard of like, man, I'm tough. Like it's, and I know that and I accept that. But it's like the other challenge is, am I fully willing to become the leader I know I need to be? Am I fully willing to become what's necessary to achieve what is actually possible, if that kind of makes sense? And you guys have heard me talk about this, like, but there comes a time in your career, hopefully, when you stick this out, that eventually you're just going to be good with what you do and you're going to stop fighting it. So it's like a while ago, I stopped fighting what we do for a living. Like, I just embrace it. This is my job. This is the rest of my life. I'm planting my roots and blah, blah, blah. And my acceptance factor, as in this attitude that a lot of people have, and this is why you guys hear me repeat the quote, success is not a destination. It is a constant. Everybody does this. We feel like when I'm married, I'm going to be good. When I make 500 grand a year, I'm going to be good. When I become an SGA, dude, I'm going to be good. It's all these wealthy people. Why are they complaining? Like, they got everything. Everything's easy for them. It doesn't matter how much money you got. It doesn't matter how successful your marriage is. Challenges are always going to be there. So for me, the biggest challenges, I have no idea. There's been so many of them, but overarching, like the theme of the last 14 years, as there's no such thing as like an event where now you're just chilling for the rest of your life. Like, that doesn't exist, just so you guys know. Like, it's never going to happen. So it's like, maybe just getting rid of that was one of the biggest challenges for me. I thought when I got to 500 grand a year, yeah, man, I'm just going to be made for life and blah, 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 blah. And when I have kids, I'm going to be made for life. It's like, dude, every time I hit these, it's a little disheartening. It's like, wow, I don't really feel fulfilled. Wow, I'm not really on easy street. I feel like that's been one of the biggest challenges for me, is like, it's like, yeah, man, you got to keep going, and possibilities are limitless, and your evolution as a human is going to be a constant thing that you got to work on pretty much until the day you die. So I think that would be the largest challenge for me personally. And once again, those that are closest to me know, like, I battle with myself on a daily basis. So it's like, that would be my challenge. This, once again, to piggyback off the first question, I love this career because I feel like it forces you to address the mirror. It makes you talk to the mirror and really analyze who you are and improvements you need to make to reach that degree of success that you crave, if that makes sense.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that.
Another 5-minute question. Eric, hash that one, 5 minutes. Boom.
Miss Jade, the queen herself, she's going to go ahead and join us and help us with the next question. So the stage is yours.
Yeah, Mr. McQuade.
Yo.
I love starting off our conversations. I always know it's going to be a good day when I hear that.
Yeah, when she doesn't hear that, she knows it's a bad day.
Yeah, I know. And then I hear like, what's going on? I'm like, embrace myself.
When he said, hey, and he just, hey, what's up?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited. Thank you, Mary. Thank you for putting this on. I'm honored to be part of this. And Andrew, I got a question for you. Let's see. Tell me, what core values and mindsets do you believe are essential for sustaining long-term success in sales? And how do you instill these values in your team?
So I can do this question fast. There's so many answers to that, because there's like tenacity and resilience and discipline and all these things, right? The ones that have helped me most is, and this is something, once again, to piggyback off last question, knowing I battle myself most is my biggest challenge. Seeking discomfort is a mentality that I think is super important. So I feel by definition, a comfort zone is your brain is already used to it. It's something it can do with ease, right? So if you go out of your comfort zone, there's a skill set there you haven't developed. It's demanding more from you, hence why it's uncomfortable, right? So for me is whenever I feel comfortable, I know something's up. Whenever I'm like, kind of like, I don't really feel anxious or like, a little fatigue or whatever it is. And I'm not saying like always be anxious, but for me is like, that has been a sign. Am I in a growth mode or a complacency mode? Is the level of discomfort. And for me is like discomfort has become, I don't want to like, I feel like it's viewed like an obstacle. For me, it's like a necessary ingredient. Like I need that discomfort to show me what I have to learn next. So it's like, once again, is if I'm in a comfort zone or I'm feeling comfortable, that's typically telling me is like, dude, you're in a situation where you're not learning anything. You're not really growing, because this is obviously stuff your brain is already comfortable doing. So that's why it's your comfort zone, right? So the first mentality that I think is super important to adopt is you got to seek out discomfort. It's a psychological thing that's kind of telling you like, dude, there's a lesson or a skill set here that you might want to investigate. Okay. And to piggyback off that, once again, you guys that come to my VIPs in my class, I talked about all the time, but seeking out difficulty, dude. You want difficult situations in life. You know, I'll tell the story I've told 1,000 times, but seared into my brain, dude, when I was young and I would watch, you know, Chris, thank you for the opening question. When I was really young and I would watch my brothers play Street Fighter is, you know, Chase played as Ryu. He's my oldest brother. My second oldest, James. He would play as Ken, and Chase would do these narratives and they were super funny. And, you know, he's the master and Ken's the pupil and they're in the dojo and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, I could never play though. They would never let me play because I wasn't good enough. So when they would go to school, I would practice and practice and practice, and I never got better. And so Chase caught me playing one time and he's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm practicing, whatever the hell I said, but I was practicing to try and keep up with you guys. And he showed me, he was like, dude, you keep lowering the difficulty down to 1 star. You know, he's like offended. Like, you think I'm a 1-star contender? You know what I mean? So he would start making me up that to like 5, 6 stars. Now, I never was able to keep up with them. Now, when he shows up, I kick his ass. But back then, when I started upping it to like 5 stars, okay, I started getting better. So that's where I got that CE you guys hear me talk about raising your baseline effectiveness. You may be starting this job as a 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 3 out of 10. That's okay. What's not okay is you don't push yourself to find out what it takes to be a 6 out of 10, what it takes to be an 8 out of 10. Because when you're in a difficult situation and you really mean it, I really want to be successful. I really want to make this competition work. On the eve of a competition is a perfect scenario to do it. I love Chris McQuade says all the time. During contests, upping your productivity by 20 to 30%. That's really hard. That's a difficult thing to do. Up yourself by 30%. Imagine going to the gym and what you usually rep out and just add 30% more weight onto it. That's going to be really tough to do. So that's a difficult situation. But what's going to happen when you apply yourself to that, especially if it's over a course of time, like a couple days, couple weeks, your brain is subconsciously learning what it takes to operate at that level. Now you know. Now I know what it takes to be a 6 out of 10. Now I have the destination. Now I can reverse engineer what it's going to take to hit that baseline capability all the time. And then you start building momentum. So difficulty helps with all those things. Because what also happens from difficulty? When you conquer difficulty, what happens to your soul, your spirit, your whatever? You feel good. You feel confident. You almost crave it again, right? So whole idea is when you have difficult situations, it's like soul food, baby, you know, especially when you're conquering it. And what's really badass, especially this is why I love hearing, not love, that's very egotistic. When I hear my resume be repeated back to me, it's kind of cool to see like the level ups. It's like, yeah, now it's like I'm trying to operate as a 9 out of 10 and a 10 out of 10. It's looking back. It's like, yeah, back then I was struggling even to do like a 4 out of 10. Look how much I've conquered and how much I've grown due to putting myself in difficult situations. But my warning to people is when you don't go for difficult situations, momentum goes both ways, positive and negative. And negative momentum is almost more powerful than positive, as in you don't seek out difficulty, as in you don't push yourself. My life experience, which is 37 years, which is a middle age, okay, so I think it's good sample size, a lot of siblings. People that don't push themselves, they do usually, once again, I'm not for fact, but in my opinion, they become cynical. They become a little cynical. And when people become cynical, they start doing this blame game. They start kind of poking holes at everything as an outsider looking in. They're not contributing to solutions, but they're very fast to point out the problems. You know, they start doing those kind of things. And when you start going down that road, that vortex of negativity just gets bigger and bigger. And now you start putting in all your personal problems, all the conflicts and arguments you get, and you just hold on to that baggage forever. You know? So for me as a person, long-term success in sales for me, I made sure I was uncomfortable more often than I was comfortable. And I sought out difficult situations. I liked going up against people that were better. That's why I love Goku and Dragon Ball. Those of you in class have heard me rant about this. That's the point of the story. He is constantly going up against somebody who he knows is stronger than he is. That's the only way he's going to get better. And then last thing, and I know this is a cliche, but in sales, competitive nature, dude. And can we please not disrespect the word competitive by just acting like it's this person against this person? When I say competitive, you can be competitive with whatever the hell you want. Whatever you want. I'm competitive with my future. I'm competitive. Exactly. Thank you, Eric. You versus you is I'm competitive with basically, here's what the American average is. This is how much I've done more than the American average at this age. This is now where I'm competitive with where I probably should be here 20 years now. I'm going to see if I can beat that. You know, I'm sometimes competitive with other people, you know, in games and SGAs. And it's like, yeah, it definitely is in there. I'm competitive with that. I like to win. We all like to win. But if you're not really competitive in that way, that's fine. Competitive is more complex than just person against person. There's so many things you can find to be competitive against. Like I said, you can be competitive about your status. You can be competitive about the person you were yesterday. You can be competitive about the results you had last month. I'm very competitive with, like, I want my brain waves to shift a little bit. So I'm competitive about my character. So I would stress to be good at sales is being competitive in some form or fashion, super important. So anyway, resilience, discipline, all those things we all know, but in my life and my career, discomfort, difficulty, and competitive nature have done huge moves for me long-term. Cool.
All right.
Amazing. Thank you.
Amazing information. Is everybody taking notes? Because I know I am. I'm like, okay, wait, I haven't heard him say that let me write this down. So I hope everyone's taking notes and really taking the time to learn from the jefe himself. So for our next question, we do have Mr. Heriberto Chavez himself. I know you guys have a long history together, and I figured it was important to make sure that he was part of this, because I know that you have been a mentor to him, just like you have been to most of us. So thank you, Eddie.
Yes, ma'am. And yes, Andrew and I definitely have a history. You know, we've been together for 6 years now. It should have been 7, but he left me alone for a whole year when he went to corporate. You know, I still hold that against you, Andrew. But, you know, been with me for the last.
I hold it against myself. Renee, I'm sorry, but I hold it against myself.
But, you know, I love this, man. I think, you know, Andrew has been the reason, you know, the major reason for my success.
Renee, I was joking.
The man you are, Andrew, but because of the man you made me be, you know. And I feel like, you know, this question really relates to that man you made me be, Andrew, is, you know, throughout my career, you made me not fear failure. You know, you almost made me love it. I don't know if you remember, but back in that culture we had when you were my RGA, I remember we would celebrate our no's almost as much as we were celebrate our yeses, right? You remember every time we got a no, we're like, yes, I just got one of the no's out of the way. Got my second no out of the way. And then, because we knew those, you know, all those no's would get us closer to the yes. So throughout my whole career, you made me, you know, embrace failure. You know, you always talk about, you know, those palm trees in Florida, whatever, you know, it makes every one of those failures makes you stronger. So, you know, I really think that, you know, that's what made me stronger, is embrace all those failures and, you know, learn from them and become the person that I am now. So my question to you, Andrew, is what has been one of your biggest failures in your career? And then what did you learn from that failure? And, you know, what did you do to correct that failure or, you know, fix the failure?
So, my mentality on failures is not common. I mean, it is common when you're in environments like this, but, you know, I don't view failures as decisions. You make decisions, good and bad ones, right? So, Renee, I apologize, but it's my agency. I have to be transparent. So, you know, this was not a failure, but it was a decision I made that was terrifying. You know, the culture I was a part of back then, I didn't like the shift it was making to where I feel like I was borderline not fitting in. And, you know, and this is for me personally, is it is important for me when I'm on my deathbed or whatever the hell it is, and my family surrounding me, I want them to be proud of what I've done and what I've accomplished. Like, there's some like politicians and executives and whatever. It's like, man, I wonder what their kids think about them. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder and it's like, for me, it's really important what my kids think about me, especially on that day. So, you know, the irony, me and Eddie, don't we look like yin and yang right now? Or kind of like light side, dark side, but it's like, you know, Star Wars, light side, dark side is very important to me. So when I went to corporate, it was an amazing move for me, but I didn't fully understand the impact it was going to make. You know, I lost 80% of the income I was used to. I had a huge team. You know, I had 5 or 6 MGAs at that point. You know, I won my MGA category that year, you know, right before I went, I lost all of them. So it's why a lot of you leaders, you probably think I'm jaded or whatever, but when you talk about losing agents or losing whatever, it's like, just to be clear, I lost everything that I had built for 9 years. But that was the decision I made, and I live with that decision. And this is the lesson I learned. Thank God for that sacrifice. So for me is, there were so, and Renee was with me this whole time, backing me up, supporting me, but my mom was there for me too, is I kept harboring on, I made a mistake, bad decision. Like, it's fine what I'm doing, but dude, the money and the future, and there's like, I don't feel the crave of creation I used to. It was very emotional experience for me. And my mom kept telling me, dude, control the controllables, your attitude and your effort. Bring in the effort. They're going to notice. Have the best attitude you can. They're going to notice. Opportunity will present itself. Renee was telling me the same stuff, and those of you that know me, that's really hard for me. I wear my emotions on my sleeves. It's one of the hardest, it's one of the worst characteristics I got, or the best, depending, I guess, on what situation, but still is, it wasn't a failure, but I would label as that was one of the most impactful decisions that I felt like, dude, I just lost everything. When I got the call, if I had not made that decision, I wouldn't be here today. So the lesson learned was, dude, situations, environments, they change, they shift, they come and go. There are so many things that are out of your control. Control what you can. That's the only way when opportunity does present itself, you're going to be able to seize on it. Because when you don't have that attitude and effort, when the opportunity presents itself, you were so busy being emotional, the opportunity goes to somebody else, or it just passes you by. And half the time it sucks because you never even noticed the opportunity come by and go. You were too busy in your own head and your own emotions. So for me, that was not a failure, but that was a significant decision I made. And it was, I thought, going to be one of the ends of me, financially. Once again, Renee, I'm sorry for saying, but it's like, it was just so drastic. But yeah, man, my mom and Renee kind of backing me up and kind of coaching me on that. And it was just a simple lesson of, dude, control the controllables, water the grass you stand on. And then when opportunity comes, knowing trouble is always around the corner, but so is opportunity. Those are the things you control, and they will come. And then the last little thing I would say that too, like there was that time, I talk about this a lot. It's not just our industry in this job. Oil, man. Like it's literally one of the biggest financial things that have ever happened to me is when oil crashed below $1 a barrel. Some of you guys remember that. It was like 5-6 years ago, whatever it was. Dude, I went all in. Literally a year later, you guys see now oil. So I've made a absolute killing off that. It was the same mentality I got from this home office move. It's like, dude, when it seems like all is lost, there's actually way more opportunity than you think. Control your mentality, control your attitude, control your brainwaves, make a good decision, and then apply the effort. It will turn around. It's just a matter of time, So that would be my answer.
Love the answer, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Of course.
All right, Mr. Chris, you're up.
Oh, it's me again? All right. All right, guys. Just to move along again, Andrew, you've been in with AIO the same time as myself. And, we've seen the landscape change dramatically, not only in this industry, but in the course of what the company has, from putting child safe boxes out.
Trapper keeper to laptop.
Yeah. The 3-ring binder presentation to obviously e-app. And then even with now moving more towards social media. So there's a lot of advances and the business just shows that it's always evolving, for yourself. How do you stay adaptable and innovative to this ever evolving landscape, as well as how do you encourage your team to embrace the change?
So it's a great question. I had 3 things that came to mind. Was when I reflect my life in the last 14 years here, when I see exponential growth, it never came, maybe this helped, but it never actually came from me being better than somebody else or whatever it is. It typically came from me being different. I approached it differently. I used a different tool. I had a different attitude about it. I did something different. It's kind of like the Apple idea, Apple computers. Like, it was a computer and they had an OS system just like Microsoft, but they stood out. They were different, and they still kind of do that to this day. So that was the one thing is in an ever evolving world, whatever it is everybody competes to be better than the next. My advice would be if you want to stand out and you want to get people's attention, being 1 or 2% better than the competition. I don't know if people are really, what they pay attention to is like, wow, that's different. Wow, that stands out. Wow, that's a cool way of looking at that. So for me, I've always tried to be different. And with the way my brain works, typically I view things a little differently anyway. So that's really helped. Another thing is, and this is me as a leader and myself, and I know not all of you, but a lot of you are going to agree with me on this. It is so much easier to adjust a process than it is a personality. Okay. So what I mean by that, when things change, the environment changes, the company changes, virtual to, or, in-person to virtual, when all these, significant changes happen, to rewire a person, the way they think, the way they feel, the way they operate is a long and arduous process, sometimes non-victorious. Like you're not even able to do it. You're trying to change like who they are, but a process, so much easier to change. So as you guys have experienced that have been with me for a minute, I tend to focus on processes, because if I'm trying to change my people completely, we don't even have time to do that. We would need years to change who people are. But a process that we all agree to, we can change that at the drop of a dime. So to piggyback off that, it's the reason why you guys see me introduce CRMs and module and all these just different ways of doing it. A team's ability to adapt is typically based off the amount they've been exposed to. If they've only been exposed to one way of doing things, you're actually limiting their growth, because they're going to be not brainwashed, but their brain is going to have a natural tunnel vision. It's like, no, this is the way we do things. You got to so my goal is be different, do processes, because usually the personalities shift after the processes show that this change works. Trying to change the personality first is borderline impossible. And then the last would be dude, you got to expose people to a lot. That's the only way new ideas are going to pop up. One way of thinking, even our own country's history has shown, when you think one way, it's what we suffer with the two-party system. It's like when you just have two ways of thinking, it's like, dude, you overgeneralize everything and nothing really changes. Everything kind of stays the same. So knowing that the world is always changing, that systems are always changing, that there's market resets and there's pandemics and there's all these crazy things. And it seems like no matter what decade you're born in, the world is always ending. Like there's always something. There's always something. You got to expose yourself to as much as possible. You got to do your best to be different. And you got to have processes, whether you're an agent or a leader in your life, that you can rely on that are adaptable. Because if you when change happens, you keep trying to change who you are to adapt to that change, it takes too much time, dude. And more systematic changes have already happened since you've been trying to change yourself. So for me, behind the scenes, I'm always working on who I am as a person and a leader, because it's like, man, this is going to take a lot of years for me to become that. But my processes that I put in place can account for any personality flaws I may have when it comes to change. Because once again, processes like, all right, let's alter the schedule a little bit. Let's try this new CRM or this tool a little bit. We could do that like that. And like I said, to the leaders, just make sure, guys, is don't get too tunnel vision on your way of doing things, especially if you haven't been winning. It's like you want to expose people to a lot of different things. You don't want to get them like tunnel vision to where,
Great info. So for our next question, we
Mhm.
got Jade. Miss Jade is going up again.
Hey. All right. Yo. All right. It's a good day. We've talked a little bit about adversity this whole hour. And the question I have is, how do you keep yourself motivated during times of adversity?
So I'm usually not motivated during times of adversity. I'm usually actually pretty disheartened and pretty down. But so I wrote down kind of my strategy to it is one thing we can all agree on is adversity is inevitable. It's part of life. It's always going to be there. Okay. So what changes is you can't change adversity. It's always going to be there. What you change is how you react to adversity. Right. And I don't mean how you feel about adversity. Because for me, 14 years, a lot of adversity, I still feel the same about it. I hate it. It sucks. It's frustrating. It's draining. It's depressing. It's whatever, but it's never going away. So I work on how I respond to adversity, not how I feel, not the situation itself. I work on how I respond to it. And I wrote down my evolution, like as a person, back when I was an agent, I used to just, ignore adversity. When obstacles present themselves, I would just be like, maybe it will go away. I'm just going to ignore it. And, hopefully we'll just get an agent or a client complains or whatever. It's like, let's see if it goes away. Okay. Then I got into leadership and I started noticing as an SA or GA, when obstacles would present themselves and I didn't handle them, the repercussions were severe. So I started tolerating obstacles and tackling them. Still emotional and still annoyed by them and blah, 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 blah. Then I got to an MGA RGA. I got a big ass team. They were kind of talking about I had a ton of MGAs. I had a couple offices. We were big. I didn't have time to give obstacles and adversity like a ton of my mental energy. I had to reserve that mental energy for like growth and profits and new strategies. Like I couldn't spend it on woe is me all the time. So the third evolution for me was I'm just going to handle my adversity non-emotional. I'm going to handle it so fast that I can't even really react to it, right? Now I feel like I'm in my final evolution. Once again, I still feel the same about it. It's annoying and I don't like it and it can kind of drain me a little bit, but now I view there's opportunities in adversity. Whenever a situation presents itself, there's always something you can do to spin it to your advantage. And I know that's a cliche, but it's happened so often for me. I can't remember an adversity situation in the past, I don't know, 4 years that I haven't learned something, come up with a new idea, pivoted our agency to do something big. Like there hasn't been one major adversity I faced that hasn't made me grow as a person, grow as a business, or grow as a spouse, husband, father, that kind of stuff. So, you know, for me is once again, if you feel adversity is something you struggle with, all of us do, man. Like, you know, we all do. And we all feel the same way about it. And it's never going away. So suppose trying to change that, maybe just change the way you respond. And like I said, is mine was, I used to avoid it. Then I started tackling it. Then I started tackling it fast. Now I borderline seek it out because I know there's going to be an opportunity there. So that'd be my answer for that.
Thank you.
Awesome. So the next question is coming from me.
Mm.
And I want to say a little bit of when I started my first interview with Kamal. I've always said it's probably been the longest that he's ever had. It was like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. I, from the get-go, was very inspired. Then I meet you, day 1 through 5. We were doing 5 days a week back then for class. First day, you speak about why. Why, this is my why. I suggest that by the end of this week, you guys figure out your why, of why you're going to do this. And that really motivated me. I remember like going back to call session and saying like, oh, Andrew, he's like a big deal. Like never been trained by the CEO, like, you know, so
Yeah,
what I
pump
would
the brakes. I'm not a CEO. I appreciate that.
well, I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was, you know, you are the CEO of your actual organization. I'm sorry to tell you, but
Mhm.
you are. You have captivated so many people with your profound speeches about the why behind your work. Can you share your why with us? I would love everybody to hear that. But in sharing that, can you explain how you have used that as a driving force to empower and motivate you into your career and in the day-to-day as an SGA?
Definitely. So for time's sake, like I don't want to go through that whole process, like because you've heard me kind of go through that. And to be honest, guys, if you VIP and all that, you're going to hear it from me too. But for me is the idea of vision and the why was such a sales cliche. I was like, okay, what does it actually mean? Like a why and a vision is an idea. And so many people just preach about how important it is, but no one was telling me, and this is how you create it. So I was like, I had to come up with an idea of how to create a vision. And being the youngest of 5, my dad died when I was younger. I wasn't super young, but I was younger. I've been an observer my whole life, and that's been a huge advantage for me, being able to observe. And I just, once again, I've watched my siblings and my dad, regrets, always having to work for other people. Like they feel like a lot of people in my life never actually had been given the opportunity to create a vision that they were in control of. As in, like we kind of talked about when we started this thing, there was some other variable from an outside, whether it be an employer or whatever, that had such control over their ability to make a vision, they never really talked about it. So for me, is when I came here, I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. This is something I haven't observed yet, is like how, like I can actually make an outline or like a why for why I'm going to do this work or whatever it is, besides just retire. Because that's what everyone else I feel like does. They do it just to retire. So it's like, why am I doing this? So I asked myself a series of questions. And, you know, I do this talk with you guys, every single one of you guys go through this, but you know, I had the simple 5 questions is what kind of life do I want to create for my family? What kind of family relationships do I want to have? What do I want to create financially? What do I want to create financially to impact other people in a positive way? And how do I want to be remembered? I asked myself those 5 questions because that's what was important to me. So The reason why people don't have passionate visions or strong whys is because they actually haven't designed them yet. They can say they know what their why is, but they give the vague answers that everybody gives. Well, my family, well, my well, it's like, yeah, we no shit. Like we all have that. Be specific. Be specific. What is your why? What are your visions? So for me, as I ask myself a series of questions to be specific on what my why was, so I could actually revisit it. The saying of aim small, miss small. The more specific your answer or whatever, like the more attainable and the odds are higher it will actually come into existence. So for me, I asked those 5 questions. You know, my upbringing is we didn't have strong relationships in our family. You know, we didn't have, like, I barely talked to my siblings at this point, and we never had money. You know, I was on government assistance from 5th grade all the way through in college. Obviously I was on my own working and stuff, but it's like, you know, so it's like I wanted to create some pretty substantial I wanted to see what it was like. And then, you know, creating things to impact other people, like shame on us when we're in a position where we can literally impact people's finances. And no matter what you think, I know money doesn't buy happiness, but man, does it make life easier. Like you can't deny that. And you're in a position where you can really financially impact a lot of people, like 3 people a week. If you're doing the job as it's meant to be done, like, you know, protecting families, it's like, man, that's like 150 people minimum, 150 families minimum a year. If you're in leadership, I know it's a lot and it's hard and train, but it's like, man, you get some people to 6 and 7 figure positions, like, God dang, you are making an impact. So for my vision is I want to make sure that that was part of it. Is like, what do I actually want to create? Where like everyone who's associated with me, not saying that everyone's going to make it, because that's perfection should never be sought, just progress should be sought. But it's like, what do I want to create so people around me are impacted positively financially, you know? And then how do I want to be remembered was important, because it's crazy to me when people go or whatever. We all know the saying, it takes a lifetime to build a reputation, like 5 seconds to destroy it. It's like, I want to make sure that I'm remembered well, because, and when I say remembered, I don't mean like, so for me is, I want my legacy to be financial. I want to leave behind some cash. I also want to leave behind lessons. Like, I feel like lessons are long lasting. The things I taught my kids, the way I lived my life, the principles I stood by, I want that to be how I'm remembered by my family for sure. And then, you know, for my why, I'm kind of alluding to this, but one of the big reasons is I wanted to make a larger impact. You know, I have this constant battle with myself of like, I kind of want to chill and not do much, but there's also a piece of me. It's like, man, I want to live up to the biggest potential I can be. And now as an SGA and blah, 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 it's like, dude, you can make such a massive impact. I'm curious as to how big of an impact I can actually make. It's one of my big driving forces. It's why I am obsessed with my vision now, is like, dude, like you keep contradicting yourself where you feel like this is where your vision max out and it always gets bigger. So I am curious how big I can make it. And another thing that's happened lately, and as I age in the business and literally in age, I'm tending to enjoy the process more than the event. As in watching transformations happen is more enjoyable to me than experiencing the end result. So for me, it's like when you're building a vision and a why, it's kind of about the experience and the transformation, the story. And to me, that's the most enjoyable part about it. When you get the reward, it's kind of like awesome. And then that excitement comes and goes like that. But that experience and that transformation, that's usually what leaves the emotional impact on you, you know? So craving and getting after my vision and making impacts in people's lives and the company and, you know, all these things, my family, myself, that's fed my vision for sure and made it bigger. But it's like lately, you know, what's really fueling me is like, I enjoy watching the transformation in people, and watching the transformation in my life and my kids and my agents and my leaders in the company. And it's like, it's all very interesting to me. So I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah, my why is those 5 questions. I revisit them all the time. And reason being is I want to make an impact and I enjoy watching the transformation in people and situations. I find it very enjoyable.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Eric.
Thanks, Mary. Appreciate you. So, McQuade, this might be a quick one because it looks like it's kind of piggybacking on the one you just answered. But what, for the people in this room, let's say, if they haven't defined their why, what are some changes they can expect to see once they gain that clarity?
So this is actually a super long answer, but I'm going to for the sake of time. I'm just going to label each one. So this has been an ongoing list since I've been an SGA, and I had vision in the past, but as an SGA, it's like it's been on gasoline, you know? First thing, when you're going after your vision, you're going to be alone. People around you aren't going to get it. Stop getting bummed out about it. Sometimes nobody else cares. That's okay. Sometimes when you're going for something that's big, when people don't get it, they're not interested. That's okay. So for me, is I always crave validation. I don't care about it anymore. Validation's nice, but I'm building this for me, my people, my family. So sometimes you're going to go it alone, and that's okay. Be cool with that. Okay. Another one we already talked about. Everyone in America and the world, it's like commonly, maybe not everyone, that's an exaggeration, but I think a strong argument can be made. Most people view adversity as an obstacle and hindrance. When I went after my visions, it forced me to look for opportunities in adversity. And I think that is really important. It's a healthier way of addressing adversity. Okay. Another one is, since I've really gone after my vision, I've learned to love the process. Process equals progress. We all know that quote, I'm hoping. But my vision is like, I've started to love the tiny parts and like the transformations like we were talking about. And, you know, and there's a few things that happen when you start falling in love with processes. You start letting go of outcomes and expectations, which I feel like is important. Like, and I know this is a loose concept, but to be a professional, you got to stop focusing on like, we got to win a Super Bowl. We got to win a Super Bowl. It's like, dude, focus on like the things that get you to the Super Bowl. Stop being so obsessed with the end result, the outcome. Stop it. It's going to give you tunnel vision. You're going to miss out on a lot of things. You're going to lose focus. You focus on the process. That's what's going to get you that ring, if that makes sense. So going after my vision, it's like, yeah, I got this vision, which is the end goal, but it's made me where it's like, but now I'm going to reverse engineer that, focus on the process that will get me there. That's been huge for me. Okay. Those of you that know me, like lately, especially, like I make decisions and I make them fast. When I started this, I was super undecisive and it was a big hindrance in my life. So going after your vision, I think it will make you way more decisive in life, and that will trickle down into your personal life as well. Indecision is way worse than no decision at all, or sorry, than a bad decision. Okay. I don't know who said that quote, but I know it's a famous quote from some author. But yeah, it's like indecision is actually more crippling than making the wrong decision. And I've kind of lived by that. It's like, dude, make the decision. Even if it's the wrong one, you're going to learn a lesson. There's going to be something that kind of comes out of it, you know? So I don't have time to sit there and kind of Teddy Roosevelt. Thank you, Connor. Thank you. Pretty famous guy. But it's like, yeah, so I think that's an important one. Okay. For me, my vision seeking makes me less emotional, makes me a little more logical. My emotions run high. It's something that fuels me, but they often get the better of me too. So when I'm going for a vision, when I have emotional outbursts or make emotional decisions, the impact it makes as you grow gets greater. The more people involved in your vision, even like the smaller decisions or whatever, they have a ripple effect that expands, you know, to a lot of people's lives. You can't be so emotional all the time. You got to have a lot of logic in that. So bigger visions have made me become, I'm still very emotional, but when I'm making decisions, like I use way more logic than I used to in making my decisions versus emotional. As in, if my mood is dictating a decision that's going to permanently alter the course of my life, that's a bad move. Little decisions can permanently alter the course of your life. And if it's dictated by your emotional state at that moment in time, dude, and leaders know we face this every day. Get agents bail or do whatever. It's like, dude, you're making an emotional decision based off like, pump the brakes, dude, take a minute, you know? Now, and this is something Eddie was talking about with his question. When you go for your vision, you're going to make mistakes, okay? And it's going to make you practice unattachment. Like stop being mistakes will always happen. There's another word for them. It's called experience, okay? Typically, people that are very experienced, they've made a lot of mistakes. It's where the experience comes from. So when people are really serious about their vision, they're getting after their vision, they don't sweat the small things, dude, because they know their lessons. Once again, they focus on progress and processes. They don't focus on perfection. It's not possible. Learn, improve, move on. That's what mistakes are there for, okay? And then a big one, I think, especially when you first start out, when you're going for visions, those of you that went to my class hear me rant about this, this job does a great job of showing you the distractions in your life, the things that may be holding you back. And it can even be personal relationships. For me, it's like, if I'm really serious about this, dude, this person who keeps asking me to do X, Y, and Z on X days, like I can't, it's holding me back. Video games I love, but I did have to cut back when I started the job. Halo Reach came out when I started this, and I loved Halo Reach, one of my favorite games. But dude, can't play it till like 11 at night. We didn't get home till like 10:30, 11 at nights back in the day. So it's like, yeah, man, you're either got to wait till the weekend because you're tired or you're not playing. So it's like, you got to make cuts on these distractions if you're serious. And then another thing for me was determination. You know, when I went after my vision, there was determination I never really knew I had, as in a sense of purpose and desire to accomplish something big with my life. Gave me a level of determination that just wasn't there before. Once again, when you're in a W-2, determination is kind of tough unless you're going for a promotion or you're going for a, you know, when I was going for my vision that I built, there was a lot of determination into it, you know? And then the few last things I would say, these are recent, like, you know, the emotional baggage of failure is like non-existent for me anymore. When I fail at something, I move on like right away. Success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. That's what success is, you know? So for me, it's like, I think when you're going for a vision, you just move on a lot faster. Okay. And then this is the last one that I just added this year, risk taking. When you go for a vision, you will understand the importance of risk taking. You will understand when you get good at that skill set, your return on investment gets higher and higher every time. I've been through this before. I've taken risks like this before. I know what my odds are. I will know how to hedge those bets and play those odds better. My investment game, my oil game, my real estate game, my insurance game have all improved because I go after my vision so aggressively. So that's another thing. If risk taking is something you want to get good at, dude, get a big vision, something you're super serious about. It will force you to take risks. And when you take risks, you learn a lot from them. So long list, I know, but those are all the things.
I've been coming off mute for like the last.
Sorry.
So
I'm going fast.
I know. I know. All right. So Paul, you're up.
Hey, so, Bossman, when we first started about a decade ago, the industry and our company was male dominated. I would say about 70-30, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the wonderful world of virtual, it's shifted, right? We have so many phenomenal females. It's probably like 60-40 now, 60 females compared to 40, you know, males in the industry. But, you know, we talked about this on the Father's Day, where some young men trying to start a career, they get kind of lost. So, you know, for yourself, balancing the role of an SGA, being, you know, a dedicated dad, husband, a son, you know, brother, and everything could be super challenging. What are some of the secrets that you can share to our younger generation of young men, not only when they're starting their career, but when they're starting a family, right? That's part one, starting a career and starting a family. And then part two would be like, what do you do to stay engaged in your personal and professional life?
Good question. I'm not really engaged in the culture war of, well, I won't go there, but for me, whether you're male or female, if you're a provider, this is for me personally. Accept that life's not fair. Accept that you're going to need to be a provider if you're serious about it. Accept that you need to carry the team sometimes, and you're not going to get the reward out of that all the time. Accept you need to create opportunity, and you're not owed anything. Okay, the world doesn't owe you anything. No one owes you anything. It's like, accept that. Accept there's a possibility that there's going to be times that there is no balance. Okay, balance can be earned and created, but it's not there all the time. Accept that you have to have empathy towards others. Accept these kind of things. And I would say, be honored that you're the person your family, your circle look up to fill that role. So for me I have accepted that life isn't fair. I have accepted that I'm the provider. Like, I got to make it happen. I have accepted that, yeah, I probably got to put people on my back and carry them to the finish line. It's going to suck. Okay. I've accepted that it is my job to create opportunity, and no one owes me anything. They got their own lives. If I've accepted this, I've accepted, because everyone asks me about balance. It doesn't exist, bro. It doesn't exist. Okay. And if you find it, let me know. Okay. But it's like, that doesn't mean permanently. There's moments of balance, but it's like, I've accepted that balance is not like something that you're always going to maintain. Things are always a little bit out of balance. Happens all the time. And then, like, in today's world, have some empathy towards people, man. Have some empathy. That doesn't mean you just let them walk all over you and you become an enabler, but it's like, have some empathy. And like, for me, is like, and this is lately in my life, I am honored that I have leaders that still believe in me, even though they have to work with me every day. I am honored that my wife, after 15 years, is still married. I am honored that my kids view me as like this superhero shit now. I look forward to fulfilling that role every day. Put me in the game, give me the ball. I'll win the championship if we need to. And I'm honored for that. So my advice to young males, but females and all you guys that are, because those times are done where it's male and female. I'm so tired of that culture war is if you're a provider, okay, you're one of the captains of the team, step up to the plate, make it happen. That would be my advice. And just own that it's not always going to be fair and balanced, and own that. You have the skill set. People view you in a way that they think you can do it. And you're the person that can get them there. That's an honor to be in that position, in my opinion. Okay. Now, that being said, you do need to find ways to unplug. You do need to find ways where you can have great, impactful moments with your family. What I've learned is I don't want to be with my family all the time. Because for obvious reasons when you get to know me. But beyond that is I kind of like when they miss me. It's like when I'm working all the time and then I finally show up, Dad's, what I mean? Like I personally like that. I think too much of anything, you start losing love for it, And then I think when you become successful, like one thing I would stress is there is an obligation, I feel like, for providers. You need to be successful to provide options for your people. So for me that's another way I've stayed energized and engaged. I make a lot of money. So I can hire help. I can hire people to clean my house. I can hire vendors to help us increase. I've provided options for myself. So that's another way. And that's just the honest truth with you guys is I have earned an income level where I can provide options and conserve some of that energy for things that are important to me. So great question. But my advice, once again, to the younger generation, you're not owed anything, man. And there's 8 billion of us on this planet. Like, you kind of have to get that shit done. And you should feel good that the people in your life look at you to be that person. They want you to be the captain of the team. That's an honor, man. That's a sweet position to be in my opinion.
I want you to tell them, start today.
And start that today.
All right, Mr. Heriberto, if you can.
I'm starting to sweat. This is last question,
It's
correct?
the last question.
Question.
We're
I
closing it out.
promise.
We're
I promise.
closing it out. Yeah, this is the last question, Andrew. So obviously you have big plans for this organization. You have big plans for each one of us, right? So for you, what is the boldest, most inspiring version of our future as a collective? And then what steps can we start taking now to, start that vision?
So I don't have an answer for this one. It's a great question, but transparency with you guys, dude, like legitimately, a lot of my goals have been fulfilled. And it's like, I know this is contradicting what I said earlier, but I'm in a place in my life where I want to do better. I want to grow, but that fire of goals is not coming internally. Eddie's saying he wanted to be a partner. Boom. My goals just skyrocket. I have a couple of UMGAs that have said you want to be partners. You want to boom, new goal for me. So I feel the boldest goals is how many people can I get to their goals? How much opportunity can I create that maybe someone they're attached to isn't giving, maybe something in their life is holding them back from, the environment needs to, whatever the hell it is that would probably be the boldness of my goals moving forward are going to come from the boldness of my people. Because I'm ready to go and go as big as anybody wants to go. But, a lot of my goals have been fulfilled. My goals are starting to pivot, which I think is a good thing in my change in my, psyche and the way I want to approach the business and life is like, I am curious, like, what are your goals? Like, what do you want to do? How big do you want to get? I've acquired so many of my goals. I want to have 2 kids. I want to have a good wife, a beautiful home. I want to have a good income, want to build retirement, want to have a successful business. I got all those things now. So it's like, okay, now let's focus on like, like Eddie, what do you want? Mary, what do you want? So that's kind of where I feel like our future is unlimited. I am ready to go as big and as far as everybody wants to go. I am ready to go. But one thing I would say, I do not want it to be the Andrew show. I don't feel that's bold, where everything is built around me and my personality. You know how dangerous that is? We all build around what I want to do? You kidding me? So the whole idea is like, dude, you need to speak up and you need to have goals and you need to be bold. Once again, with Mary or Renee reading my resume, it's like, man, I think I've shown a track record. I was pretty damn bold for the last 14 years. That's what it equaled is. It's time for the Andrew show will always be around, but man, let's work on you. Like, let's get something big going with you. Eddie, I'm not talking to you specifically, even though we're working on that now. I'm saying in general. So The most inspiring version and boldest would be you guys. The boldest and most inspiring would be like how many people can get to this position where they're talking to their people like this. That would be very bold and that would be inspiring. How big of a web can we create? But I can only go so far. Like I would need everybody who wants to do something big to step up, just like I had to. That would be my answer.
Love that answer, Andrew. And to be bold, I want to be in your shoes pretty soon, you know?
That is
You
an
want to
awesome.
be shopping in the same shoe store. I don't know if you want to be in my shoes, but you definitely want to be shopping in the same store.
Right, exactly.
There we go.
Appreciate it. Well, I appreciate everybody sticking around, guys. I know it's late, but Andrew, great answers. I love it.
Appreciate it, guys.
I
That was a lot. So I hope you guys got something from that. Remember, guys, I'm here all week. It's a joke.
Yeah.
I'm here every day. So it's like, you guys ever want to talk one-on-one or go over some of the stuff or have questions for me, dude, whenever you want, just hit me up, call me. But as this meeting shows, be ready to talk because I will talk for hours. Okay.